In today's video, I want to talk about a question that I get asked from time to time when it comes to jig fishing, which is when do you hang a soft plastic trailer off of that jig, and when do you actually thread that soft plastic trailer up on your jig? There have been a few situations out there on the water, a few times in my life where this has made a tremendous difference on the number of bites that you will get. And in today's video, I want to talk about those situations. Now, real quick, speaking of jigs, right now over at Omnia Fishing, you can get anything made by Outcast Tackle for 25% off, which includes jigs like the one that I'm holding here. This is a Cage Fighter tungsten jig. So if you guys want to buy some high quality tungsten jigs, click that link down below. You can save some money on jigs, and you can also help support this channel. All right, let's talk about jig fishing. Let's talk about jig trailers. Now, the big thing that I want to make sure that you know is the difference between these. If you are new to bass fishing or new to jig fishing, maybe you don't know. So for those of you who've been fishing a jig, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but quickly, I want to show you the difference. Now, hanging a jig trailer on a jig means, I don't know, lack of better words, you're just gonna hang it on. I'm gonna poke it basically through the top of that trailer, just like so. So it's kind of able to move a little bit more freely and all over the place, and that's called hanging it. Now you can also thread your soft plastic on, and you can thread a chunk style trailer like this, or you can thread, you know, a crawl style trailer like this little X-Zone muscle back crawl that I have here. And threading it on means you go in through the top of your plastic and you thread it up on to your hook just like so. So that is the difference. Now, I know a lot of you probably just saw that, especially if you're new to jig fishing, and you're like, does that actually make a difference? And I know that this is a question that I asked myself for a number of years. And I'm gonna start this video off by saying that there are most of the time that you are fishing out there on the water, whether you thread that soft plastic on or whether you just hang it, it's not going to make a difference on the number of bites that you get. You could be fishing with a buddy, you could be fishing the exact same jig, fishing them the exact same way. One of you is threading a trailer on, one of you is hanging that trailer, and you're going to get the exact same amount of bites. There are a lot of situations where it just doesn't make a difference to the bass. Now, a couple of situations where it does make a big difference is what this video is all about. Now, a number of years ago, I was fishing on a reservoir, but I was actually up in the river portion of this reservoir, and it was a muddy water area. I was using a black and blue jig, and it was a jig like this, but black and blue, and I had a soft plastic, just like this actually, threaded up on to the trailer, just like you see here. And I was flipping and pitching just wood cover along the shoreline. Now, I had been fishing for about an hour, and I really hadn't caught anything, like didn't have any bites. And then I did get a bite. I set the hook and I didn't hook the fish. I came back with just the jig. The fish had ripped my trailer off of that jig. So I went to go change my soft plastic trailer, put another one on, and I realized that that was actually my last soft plastic trailer. So there was one of these that was in the bottom of my boat. It was already way tore up. So what I decided to do was just bite off the top, like so, and I actually just hung that same crawl style trailer on the back end of my bait, just like that. I hung it instead of it being threaded like I was fishing it. Now, over the course of about the next half hour, I caught 4 fish really, really quickly. And at the time I thought, well, I just got into them. I finally hit that stretch where the fish are. But then I took that exact jig and I actually refished a couple of the areas that like just looked really, really good to me. Ones that I thought I could have got bit, ones that I fished with that jig when I had the soft plastic threaded up onto the hook. And lo and behold, I started catching fish in a lot of those exact same areas. And this was one of the first times out on the water where I saw having a jig that was threaded versus having a jig trailer that was hung on there made a humongous difference in the number of bites that you get. And from then on, pretty much any time that I know that I am fishing in a highly pressured body of water, because that is exactly where I was fishing, I'm going to hang a jig trailer. I just feel like it helps get me more bites. There's a little bit more movement side to side with that jig trailer, and I think it just makes that bait look a little bit more natural under the water. I don't know why, but I've just seen it now a few times since that one particular day where this has helped me on multiple occasions. Anytime I'm fishing in areas that I know other guys have gone through and probably fished a jig, I'm gonna hang a trailer, and I feel like it helps me to get more bites. Now, I'm not saying that that's always the case. Like, let me restate that. I still think that a lot of times it doesn't make a difference, but I do think in highly pressured situations, it can be the deal. Now, with that being said, there are also situations where threading that soft plastic can help you get more bites. And probably the biggest situation, the biggest area where I do this is anytime I am fishing around grass. If I am fishing in hydrilla, milfoil, coontail, you know, submergent vegetation, or even emergent vegetation like lily pads and reeds, I am going to thread that soft plastic trailer up onto the jig for the simple reason that it will come in and out of that cover without getting hung a lot better. Not only will it not get hung, but sometimes if you fish a jig like this, in those situations, you'll come back with like pieces of jig that are caught up underneath where you kind of hang it on. And I do think that you can get more bites because you're simply going to be more efficient out there on the water. Now, you can hang a trailer and you can thread all different types of trailers. There's a ton of different trailers out there on the market. You know, the ones that I had today, this is the Zoom Zoom Super Chunk Junior. This is one of my favorite like chunk style trailers. And then I have kind of a newer one to me, one that I've kind of been fishing and experimenting with, which is actually this X-Zone muscle back crawl. Now, the reason that this kind of caught my eye, this particular trailer, is because this particular type of plastic is floating. It is, just like it says there on the package, it has floating crawls. Now, if you watch a bass go to attack crawfish a lot of times, they are in a little bit more of a defense mode. You know, they have their arms up. And so I like a jig like this where I know that this soft plastic is floating, and it actually helps pivot that jig up off of the bottom and kind of shows them that defense mode. It just looks more natural to a bass. And sometimes looking more natural can help you get bites, but there's a number of different trailers that you guys can use to help you catch fish. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, you might like this video that I did right here where I talk about the exact things that you want to look for that make a good jig a great jig, and also what make a jig a bad jig. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you'll like this one. Also comment below, and I will see you guys tomorrow.